My parents are kicking me out. This might be a little bit of a vent, but I'll try to keep it short. When I was 18, I moved across the country to be legally adopted by a close friend and her wife. My home life situation, living alone with my bio dad, was awful and abusive. Martha and Emily took me in and loved me for 5 years without question. Recently, around the start of this year, I came to the conclusion that I have a pretty severe mental health disorder that causes me to behave strangely at times, and for some reason Emily seems to have taken this as a personal attack. I do have an official diagnosis, but don't see the point in raising drama over what exactly it is here in this sub. When this happened, they took me to the ER for a mental diagnosis and tried to get me grippy socked because they believed I was dangerous to myself or others. The doctors confirmed I'm normal and let me go home. Since then, Emily has decided she thinks it's okay to yell at me, an abuse survivor who is triggered by even raised voices, when she disagrees with what I have to say, or thinks I've done something incorrectly. It's come to the point where I'm having anxiety about being alone with her, and now I am afraid to be in the car alone with her just to go to work. She doesn't seem to care about this, or that she specifically has caused me several anxiety attacks and one full-on panic attack in the past 8 months. It's been decided that I should go back to my home state to live with my bio mom instead, who is a lovely woman that cares about me and my 2 half-sisters. She is probably who I should have moved in with first, but I wanted to be as far away from my bio dad as possible, which is understandable. However, this may take a few months for me to be able to leave. Is there any way I can try to convince Emily to leave me alone, or at the very least not yell at me? She yells because that's how she was raised, and she's brought up the "you're lucky I'm not my mother" card to indicate she could abuse me further if she wanted to. How can I make the situation bearable for myself without simply hiding in my room for months on end? Edit. I get it. I'm the problem. I'll just avoid Emily and try to do what I can to make sure I get out of their house soon. Edit 2. I am turning off Reddit notifications. This has devolved too far. I've received enough helpful advice and I'm just getting upset from all the harsh and needling people here. Please stop messaging me about my fake diagnosis. I already have enough people telling me I'm faking it. Comment. Anyone else is weirded out a woman in her 30s was really good friends with a 16-year-old she met on Discord? Sounds like an opportunity ripe for further abuse in one way or the other. Even as basic as someone who wanted to brag about how they took in someone who needed help, then realized it was actual work. It is. As someone who moved in with someone 10 years my senior and their partners to get away from an unhealthy relationship with my family, that treated me badly when my mental health declined, I'm genuinely concerned for Op, and it's heartbreaking to see the comments people are leaving calling them terrible and insulting their mental health. I'm in a good place now, far away from family, and the people I thought were my best friends that clearly platonically groomed me from a young age, but these comments would have fucked me up if I'd seen them while I was in the weeds. Some people just don't have empathy or understanding for others. True. Still, I feel like some of the folks are offering suggestions on how to get out, but Op comes back with a lot of excuses. It's hard to know if he genuinely wants help or is only looking for validation for his feelings. A lot of people don't realize that when you're in that situation, you look for every excuse. Hell, I didn't realize it until things deteriorated for me 8 years on and my friends and family told me they wanted to tell me what they were seeing but feared I would shut them out in defense of the cult-like friendships I had. I hope Op sees the light, genuinely. I was a teenager when we met, and they convinced me to move away from my abusive family to be with them. Everything about me as a person became reflective of what they wanted me to be. How I talked, what I wore, my hobbies, what I watched, my friends, my general behavior and my beliefs. Truthfully, there are some things, like TV shows and a few hobbies, I would have found on my own, but a lot of who I was from age 18 to 26 was reflected in what they thought I should be. My best guess is that they really did want to adopt an adult child. Since Ob suggests they haven't really done anything and that they have provided decent accommodations since recently. Has had previous relationships and jobs. That when they started to go to therapy, the therapist told them he was dangerous and that they should stop enabling. This made them stop seeing Op as their child and just some stranger they picked up from the internet. This is now causing them to lash out and demand he leave. He didn't think of moving with his mom because these women probably suggested they adopt him, so they could have an adult child. Now that they are kicking him out, that's when Op is realizing he should have moved in with his mom all along. My mom adopted my little brother when he was an adult. She raised him, but only kept guardianship because she was a single mom, and a guardianship kept him eligible for survivor SS benefits, Medicaid, and certain scholarships and financial aid when he was ready to go to college. Then when he was an adult, she asked him if he would like to be adopted officially, and he said yes. So she did. Your mom sounds wonderful. Guardian is different from adoption. For adults, adoption doesn't mean someone else can make legal decisions on their behalf and they have no say, but with guardianship it does. It sounds like it was a good idea that your mom got guardianship over your brother. Sometimes people need someone to make legal decision on their behalf, like in this case. It can be reversed when someone is competent to speak on their behalf and make their own decisions. I hope he is able to be a successful adult where he can be his own legal guardian. If it's needed, he could have the option to have a representative payee to assist him with managing his finances and government assistance, which is basically a step down from full guardianship. I've worked with many people with disabilities and have seen this many times. Next story 2. I have realized that I don't want kids, and I don't know how to tell my wife. How do I tell her? Hi all, really unsure of how to approach this, been googling and still really unsure, also using a throwaway since my wife knows my account. We met in high school, and officially started dating in college. We have now been married for 6 years. Since we first started dating we have both always had the same plan, we'll focus on our careers, once they both get to a good level we would move into together and get more serious, then get married. We also discussed kids and we both wanted 2 kids. So now we have great careers, been married for a few years, and bought a house together last year. For now my wife is working on a massive project and is in and out the state for the next 5 months, after that our plan is to start working on building a family. I've spent the last 2 years saving up, and already have 2 small college funds. I never really thought I wouldn't want kids. However, the last 6 months anytime my wife has brought up the kids I felt very hesitate. My wife has been out of state for the last week and I spent some time thinking and it suddenly hit me last night, I don't want kids. Firstly, I don't want to do this over the phone, I will see my wife in person next weekend, so I have some time to collect my thoughts, but I'm terrified that this may end in divorce. The reason I don't want kids is because I'm worried how the world will turn out, economy/global warming and such. I really enjoy our autonomy we have currently and I don't want to give that up. The costs involved are also kinda insane. We could afford it but it would come at a big lifestyle change. Most of the reasons are very selfish. The way I see it is either we divorce, which I really don't want, I love her more than anything and love our life, or I just suck it up and likely be miserably. Any advice on how to bring this question up please? It's more sensitive too as we will only have a week or so together. TL, Dr. Been together with wife for 13 years, married for 6. Both agreed we wanted kids, and wanted 2 kids, we planned our lives around it. Recently I realized I don't want kids, and I don't see that changing. How should I approach this with my wife? Edit, thanks for the advice all, I've written down all my reasons and intend to tell her ASAP. Just to clear up a few things. I genuinely wanted kids up to very recently, I had a shit childhood and I really wanted to change with my own children, I'm the one that set up all of the plans really, and it's only recently when our friends have started having kids that my wife has been more interested on when we will start. All of our savings are solely in my wife's name, we both have good jobs and we have always just split it such that I take care of all expenses and she saves all the money. The amount is a large sum, and if things don't work out I intend to leave all the money and the house to her. We had a deal and I'm the one backing out. I never ever want to hurt, which is honestly what I'm most worried about, even more so than being alone and heartbroken. However, you are all correct, there's no point in me sucking it up and just having kids to stay married if I will end up resenting our kids and her in 10 to 15 years. After her sister had kids in her early 40s, but another sister struggled, we went to the clinic and the doctor said she has the remainder of her 30s. It's still not ideal, given she's busy with work for the next 6 months plus, then has to start over which could take a few years. This is a bit of an aside, but I saw in one of your comments you mentioned schizophrenia. If you truly have a diagnosis and your disability is interfering with your ability to work, you might qualify for disability payments through Social Security if you are in the US. This could help you live independently and get you out of your current living conditions. And if you do have the diagnosis, do the SSA application online and give your local office a call or a visit. I did this recently and they told me medical apps can take 4 to 6 months, in Massachusetts, st least, to go through to approval. But I would definitely find the resources, or take them if offered, to move in with your bio mom, to get as peaceful a transition as possible, if it's an option. Good luck. Comment. As the father of 2 young kids, you should absolutely not have kids unless you 100% want them. You would be doing yourself, your children, and your wife, a disservice by doing so. Kids are not something you can just half-ass. For real, Op is saying hell, suck it up and be miserable. Think about your possible fucking kid for a fucking second. You really think that would be a healthy way to raise a child? No kid deserves a parent who doesn't want them. Not to mention best case scenario, if you end up miserable is you get divorced anyway. Please don't waste any more of her fertile years and just tell her as quickly as possible so she can make decisions going forward regarding her life. Unless she also has changed her mind and doesn't want kids, it likely will end in divorce, and it should, because to have or not to have kids is not something that a couple can compromise on. Yep, fastest divorce possible. Equal asset split and do it quick. She needs all the time she can get after 13 years down the drain. Her entire life plan just went down the toilet. It's fine Op changed his mind, but it sounds like he went through the motions and only recently started actually thinking about what he wants. If he had done that a decade ago, he could have saved her a lot of heartache. He only recently did the math and saw what sacrifices would need to be made. I understood that at 19 and I don't even have a baby. How did he only realize it in his 30s? He's a few years younger than me and I'm just baffled how he's just now thinks about his life and what he wants. I'd be far more sympathetic if his revelations weren't, oh wow, kids cost money and I have to use my free time on them. Like, yeah? Didn't you realize that many years ago? There's a difference between I no longer want to make that commitment and I just realized what that commitment would be. He's in the second camp, and it's hard to be sympathetic to that at his age. Shows an extreme lack of maturity. What you're ignoring is that he didn't actually change his mind. To do that, he'd have had to actually thought it through before. He only just now realized kids take a lot of time and money. What? I'm child-free. I'm fine with people who pick not to have kids. This guy is still very immature, and yes, he did waste her time by not taking this seriously enough. There's no other explanation for the reasons being time/money. That was obvious. He should have thought about that many years ago. If he had said saving up for them was hard, or he realized the process was more than he expected, then I'd get it. But that's not what he said. I would be heavily defended him if they were younger or if his reasons were different. But his reasons boiled down to I didn't take our lives seriously enough to use my brain at all in the last 13 years for what I wanted and what the consequences were. That's just cruel to be that immature and upend the plans made with a partner like that. He should tell her, and fast. The damage has already been done. The least bad option is to let her leave. Him changing his mind isn't bad, but putting off thinking about how his actions impact his partner is bad. Those have been happening steadily over the years, aside from the 4 years you seem to be remembering, but I think in all honesty you were okay with everything until she got serious about things, which added fuel to the fire. Now it's gotten real and you've come up with as many excuses to continue life the way it has been. There's nothing wrong with that, but the truth is you just don't want kids, and maybe you thought you guys could wait it out. You can't save face on this one. I am not sure how she will handle this, but it's too late to be scared now. I hope it works out for you guys.